Back here in the 400 freestyle lane one. Typically, I'll play the whole race straight through so you can just kind of see it uninterrupted, and then I'll go back and break down some things. Because this is a 400, it's going to take 5 minutes to watch it. I don't want to spend that long watching it. We kind of get the point. So I'm going to play it, talk about your splits, and then I'll go back and point out some technique things. Okay, so split-wise, you're a 5:05 end time. You got there by hundreds, 109, 120, 119, and then 116. So in terms of splitting it, you're all over the place. I think a lot of that has to do with your attendance leading into the meet. Obviously, you were a little ill, and that plays a part of it. And so I think if we take a look at this by 50, 33, 36, 39, 40, 40, 39, 39, 36. And so what we need to try to do is eliminate all that middle stuff and kind of hone in back on those 36s. At least here early in the season, if we can go out 33 and then maintain 36s, that puts us in a lot better spot than, say, jumping all the way up to 40s. And then you clearly had something left at the end to be able to close it 3 seconds faster on your final 50 than you did the 50 before it. Now, I'll kind of slip around here to the end. Now you turn it on here at the end, but notice your left arm here, as it's finishing the stroke, it's coming up way short. So traditionally you want your hand to finish right next to the hip, flicking that water out, but here your arm is bent and coming out kind of by your stomach, and you're really not finishing the stroke at all. Now throughout the whole race you do a nice job of reaching in front of you. So it was like this at the start. It continues here. This is the last 50. You're doing a nice job reaching in front of you, leading with those index, thumb, and middle fingers. So all that remains well. Okay, but I'm kind of jumping around here. We're going back to your start. On the start, your feet are set up where they need to be before the starter says take your mark, which I like. And then you're here, generally a pretty relaxed position, which is good. I can't see your hands per se. It's hard for me to tell the exact direction of your feet, but fundamentally I think this is a solid base on your start. But when the buzzer goes off, you notice you're jumping more up, and now you're making this awkward arc back into the water. So what you have to start to think about instead is when that buzzer goes off, that you're jumping towards the flags and not trying to jump over the flags. Okay, so big arch, and now you do have a lot of air time, so it allows you to get into streamline here. You're in generally a good line, but the angle that you're hitting the water is too steep. So now you're going to do like this whole looping motion to get back to where you need to go, instead of hitting at a clean 45 degrees and kind of just slipping below the surface to get some kicks in and then breaking out. So too much up and down motion essentially on our start. Okay. Now, going back to the stroke itself, like I said, the left arm is slipping. It slips in the early part of the race. As you get more tired throughout the race, it continues to get shorter and shorter. Another thing with the stroke, here through the breath, you breathe every other stroke. I do not mind that at all. But while you're breathing, and I know it's hard to see because of the, just how far away the camera is, but through the breath, your arm is taking the stroke instead of holding it up front. So if I just kind of play it through, you try to take a look at the arm here. What you want to do is hold, so if you hit the water here, you want to hold your hand gliding on the surface through the breath. And then as your eyes start to make their way towards the bottom of the pool, that's when you can initiate the pool. But right now with you pulling and breathing at the same time, that left arm stroke essentially becomes very weak and ineffective. And because you're breathing every other stroke, that's half of your strokes are not good strokes. Okay, coming out of the turn. On the turns, you're facing, let's see. So first stroke you take is a breath. So what you need to do instead, if your first stroke is going to be with the right arm, you need to hold the breath for the right arm. And then with this left arm stroke, that's when you can breathe. But for you to just break out straight into a stroke, you've killed a lot of the momentum that you just potentially gained off the wall. Okay? So, fundamentally, solid start. Just got to change our direction. The stroke does a nice job reaching. You keep a steady kick about you the whole time. Given that this is 2 weeks into the season and fighting some illnesses, I think that this is a good starting point, and we have a lot to work on to improve. So all in all, nice swim. I'm excited to see what you can do as we start to get in better shape and as the season goes on.